Hey, my name is Grace. I read 8 books in December and I want to talk about them. So here we go. Okay, the first book I read, wait, this is upside down. The first book I read in December was The Lightning Thief by Rick Riordan. This is part of the Percy Jackson and the Olympian series. So fun. I was kind of feeling slumpy. I think I had been reading some really heavy books at the end of November and I needed something just light to kind of reset. And this was a blast. I, of course, am a big fan of like Greek mythology and mythology retellings. And so I did not grow up reading these. This was my first read as an adult and it was a delight. And I picked up the second one and I'm excited to read it more. It's about Percy Jackson, who is the son of a Greek god. I don't want to spoil it, like in case I'm not the only one that hasn't read them yet. He's the son of a Greek god. He finds out. I guess that's kind of a spoiler. All right. He's the son of Poseidon and he goes on adventures. I'm assuming each book is a different adventure, but it was just like really fun. The characters are lovable. The writing was funny. And yeah, it was just a great time, great middle grade. And I would highly recommend it if you have any like kids in your life that are ages 8 through 12, I guess. I didn't read that on the back of the book. It was just a guess. Yeah, just a really fun middle grade and I enjoyed it very much. Next, I read Infinite Country by Patricia Engel. Gorgeous, gorgeous book. It follows a character named Talia and her family is separated between Colombia and the States and really just looks at immigration and family connections and what is home. Just breathtaking writing, really heartbreaking and devastating and just like very readable. I was immediately drawn into Talia's journey. That she goes on. It is winding and beautiful. Just really, really beautiful. I would highly, highly recommend this. Okay, next I read Love Light Farms by B.K. Borison. If you've already watched my wrap-up, my 2022 wrap-up, this is kind of a spoiler, but I loved Love Light Farms. I think it's my new favorite romance of all time. A girl owns a Christmas tree farm. She signs up for this contest to win a bunch of money, but in her application, she says that she owns this Christmas tree farm with her boyfriend. So she asks her best friend Luca to be her fake boyfriend for this like visit that they have coming up. And it was just like so good. I don't know. It was like best friends to lovers, fake dating. And it was just like great. So, I mean, if you like friends to lovers, it is good. It is good stuff. Next, I started this in November, but I finished An Indigenous People's History of the United States. Very informative, educational. Wish I would have read more books like this earlier in my life, certainly in my education. I was a history minor in college and we learned almost nothing. I mean, I can't recall ever discussing the indigenous populations like in our country in the United States ever. And it should be talked about regardless of what span of time you're looking at. Indigenous and Native peoples like exist in our country and they are intrinsically tied to the history of this nation. And at times it kind of read more like a textbook, so it was a little dry, but this spans to pre-colonial, like Mesoamerican populations, civilizations, all the way through to the present. I think this was published in 2015, so it's certainly there are 20 published in 2014, so there's certainly recent history. I mean, God, it feels like a lot has happened since 2014, and it has. But yeah, if you are wanting to, this feels like a really good starting point for me because it does give you the overall timeline of like pre-colonial Americas all the way up to like recent history. And so from there, you can dig deeper. And I intend to. One thing that I really took away from this was just the immense history of Native and Indigenous peoples like on this continent and on this hemisphere. And I'm really, really inspired. I guess I kind of realized that I'm so obsessed with like Western mythology, but there are other incredible civilizations from antiquity and from before that have been here for so long that they have their own beautiful, vibrant mythologies and like cultures that I have not been educated in or exposed to. So like one book that I really want to read as a follow-up to this is the Mesoamerican mythology, but I'm just really planning on reading much more about Native and indigenous peoples and civilizations. And yeah, it was really good. So if you're wanting, it is not, I wouldn't say it's like the most readable book in the world. It does at times like really feel like a textbook and can get kind of dense, especially when it was kind of talking about like the Revolutionary War and then like up to the Civil War, and there was just like a lot of talk of battles and attacks and stuff like that. And stuff like that really kind of gets like muddled for me, but I think it's super important educational text, and yeah, definitely a gateway for me into more reading. So then after I finished that one, I was so inspired and moved that I was like, you know what, let me pick up an indigenous author who is a legend, and that's Louise Erdrich. I read The Sentence and I loved this book. I thought it was excellent. It follows Tukey. I was close. Follows Tukey, who was previously incarcerated, and basically follows her in this year in which an annoying customer at the bookshop dies and her ghost haunts the bookshop for like a year, and it follows Tukey and this ghost for a year. It's really, really good. I don't want to like give too much about the year and like what transpires, but it's just really good. It's written really like, I really like her writing. I read Love Medicine by Louise Erdrich in high school, and I don't think I was in the right, well, I wasn't reading enough in high school, but I also was not in the mindset to like appreciate her voice. But I really like Louise Erdrich's voice and how it is kind of like removed, but also funny. And I don't know, I really enjoyed it. So I am keen to read much more from Louise Erdrich. Bit of a hint, I started another Louise Erdrich in December, finished it in January. And so I would highly recommend this. If you're wanting just like a contemporary ghost story sort of, that isn't too spooky, not really spooky at all, but just terribly readable and very interesting, I would recommend it. Okay, then my next read was Erotic Stories for Punjabi Widows by Bali Kaur Jaswal. I read this in a day. I took a day off work just to read, and I read this from front to back. It's so funny and warm and follows Nikki, who is a British Punjabi, and she, through kind of a series of events, becomes a teacher for this writing class at the Sikh Community Center in London, in like the Punjabi community in London. And it turns out it ends up being a little different, and the women kind of turn it into their own thing. Just like a really lovable, delightful cast of characters. There are some stakes to it. It kind of ends up being a little more intense than I anticipated, just with like the conflict behind people getting upset about these like women who are mainly widows, like all coming together and writing stories of a certain nature. But it was delightful, really, really fun. And I would really recommend it if you're just wanting, I don't know, something funny and sweet and like kind of a found family aspect. Really good. Next, I read Funny Feelings by Tara DeWitt. This is an independently published romance novel. I got it on Kindle Unlimited. It follows I don't remember their names. It follows a stand-up comedian and her best friend / manager, and it's another fake dating, which I'm discovering is like one of my favorite romance tropes. And basically, to kind of boost her career a little bit, she starts dating her manager, who was previously a very successful stand-up comic and is a writer and producer and all that. It was really fun. It was really, really fun, very cute, funny. I think it would be very easy for somebody writing a stand-up comic to be kind of cringe if like the comedy included in it isn't good. But I thought it was funny. It's not laugh out loud funny, but it's reading a book funny for me. And yeah, delightful chemistry. The spice actually didn't really do it for me, but that's okay. I still enjoyed it. And yeah, if you're wanting just like a fun romp, go for it. And then the last book of the year that I finished was Bloodmark by Tracy Deonn. Really fun. It did take me a little bit to get into it because there are so many characters in this book. Tracy Deonn really added a lot of people. And even in the first book, I had a hard time keeping track of everybody. I need a family tree or something, like a character map, because there was just a lot of people. So it did take me a while to kind of get into the story. I was just really finding myself caught up with the characters a lot. But once I got into it, I really enjoyed it. Really, really into Selwyn and Kane. Love that dynamic. There's a great love triangle in this book. Like really classic YA love triangle that I find very compelling. And it follows the first book where Bree is, I don't want to give away the first book, but Bree is a young Black woman. I think she's 16 or 17. Also, like, my only issue with YA is like, why couldn't this have been adult? Because she's like 16, but is in like an early college program. It's like, just put her in college. Like, why does she have to be 16? Why does she have to be 16? Anyway, it doesn't matter. Doesn't take away from my enjoyment of the book, which was immense. And I'm sure I will keep up with the series and read the third one whenever it comes out. Oh, but I didn't say. So Bree basically goes to this college, and what unfolds is sort of an Arthurian retelling with this secret society that she finds at college. And it's just, you got to read it. If you're into YA, if you're into fantasy, it's excellent. It's really, really good. Really deals with themes of grief and ancestral trauma and self discovery. It was really good stuff. So those are the books I read in December. Please let me know down below what your favorite read of December was. Would be really keen to know if you're interested in picking up any of these. I really appreciate you watching. Thank you so much. I just hit 100 subscribers, which may not sound a lot to you, but it means a lot to me, and it's fun to just try and continue to grow this platform, and I just really enjoy making this bookish content. So can't thank you enough, and yeah, take care and have a great day.